Hi, good evening, one and all. Welcome to my show, The Interview, hosted by Lakshman Rao and promoted by the Fertile Brains, Prasanna Kumar. Today we have our guest, Dr. Rakesh Chandra, and retired IAS officer, a diplomat, and a scholar. Well, it's taking time a little bit. Let's hope to be joining very soon. Well, it's a very good initiative to take an sort of session wherein like we would be exploring the poet from person's point of view and a person from poetic point of view. So that's the main idea and the ideology behind this program. Like it was very much conceptualized and initiated by me as well as Prasanna to come up with this idea on this great platform wherein like to discuss and bring out a poet's vision. So that was the main motive behind this all these efforts, I meant to say. So I believe like sir has a little bit of technical issues, so hope he will be joining very soon. Yeah, I believe he has joined in. Please bear with us. Yeah, as I was saying, like welcome sir, good evening. This
Thank
is
you. Good
Lakshman
evening.
Rao from Bangalore.
Yes. Here is Dr. Rakesh Chandra from Lucknow.
Cool sir.
Yes.
So how are you feeling sir?
Very, very nice feeling and
Pretty excited?
yes.
Very much excited and
Yes,
intrigued.
yes.
Okay, sir. So I just gave brief about your this thing like you'll be joining us.
Yes.
So here I go with a short bio of Dr. Rakesh Chandra. Sir, Dr. Rakesh Chandra is a former civil servant. He has two collections of English poems titled Moon is Black, Circle of Life. Also one collection of Hindi poems titled Mere Sheher Mein, and a book on Rekha Chitra titled Bechare Wale Log. His English poems are found placed in different anthologies, poetry journals, and newspapers, and literary supplements as well. He has translated 9 literary books. That's a huge amount of books writing. His 4 books have been published and 4 are under publications. There's much more to come and explore. Yeah. He is the recipient of this year's National Nazi Naman Prize in Literature. So here we welcome Dr. Rakesh Chandra onto our platform. Welcome, sir.
Thank, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's a it's really a great honor and a privilege to have you on our show, sir. So how did you come to know about our show, sir?
What is it?
How did you come to know about our show, about the interview show?
Yes, yeah. Thanks to Mr. Prasanna. He's
Okay.
a, he
Is-
time to
is-
time he introduces some new things. So
okay.
when I learnt about it, then I simply jumped into the bandwagon.
Okay.
Uh,
That's nice. That's nice. So, uh, s- so you've been in the administrative sector as an IAS officer, and you've been a scholar and diplomat by yourself. So, how did you manage your entire life, sir? Like being in a hectic schedule of administrative affairs?
Frankly speaking, during service period, there was no time for other things except official business. All
Okay,
the 4 hours, we were either doing something or thinking about something.
something.
Which was concerned with the government or because during in the military service there is no job chart, there is no defined limits of your working hours, full time for any problem worth mentioning. uh, People can contact the administrative officers because they find that only solution can be given by the administrative officers of any problem. This is the general perception. So,
Yeah.
so I really did injustice to my family, I would say, to my
Oh,
friends, because I couldn't find any time to interact with them in proper shape and a proper mood. So that was there, that.
cool,
So
sir.
for literary thing, there is extremely, you see. there is entirely no scope for any literary activity because
Agreed.
during
Agreed.
you must have heard about administrative officers. They say they wield a danda, a baton in their hands. They must be rough and tough. So
Hmm.
there are no, if he has got feelings of some, you see, sensitive feelings, he is not fit for the administrative job. That is the perception among the
Yeah.
officers in the
Yeah. True. True. Agreed, sir.
cadre. Uh,
Agreed.
so I could
So
not
how
find.
did you develop a passion for poetry, sir?
Actually, during my university days, when I was doing my graduation and masters in Lucknow University, that time I was very much influenced by the a magazine, the Illustrated Weekly of India. That was the premier magazine of English literature and political and everything content. There used to be a full single page for English poetry,
Okay.
and I went through that pages almost sorry every week. In that page, I read poems of great masters of English poetry, Indo-Indian poetry, Nissim Ezekiel, Dom Morris, then James Mahapatra, and many others. So I was something touched the chord of my heart that this is my field.
Hmm.
And you will be surprised that I wrote first poem
Hmm.
in English. When I
Okay.
was in BSc, I was doing some maths, some solving some problem in my BSc at home. Then first poem dawned like a rain in the sudden rain in the monsoon season. I
Okay.
still could not find from where that poetry came to me,
Yeah.
but that was the beginning. So I
It's just a lightning of a spark. Don't
exactly,
you
sir.
think so, sir?
I
Huh?
think that's what I was fully surprised, and I wrote three stanzas of poetry, the four-line quartets of that
Okay.
English poetry.
Okay.
So doing, I was science, man of science background, physics, chemistry, maths, and from where I read English literature till only class 12th. That was in the textbooks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I had no
You
connection
had
with
thought
any.
of reading literature
Yes,
extensively.
yes, yes. But sometimes that was a pointer that you have to go, you have to follow
Uh,
this path
yeah.
later on. That was
So,
an
sir,
indicator.
so you took up poetry so passionately only after your retirement or something?
Yes, not exactly after retirement. 3 years, 3 years after retirement,
Okay.
I
Oh,
I could write, I could write my first poem in
okay.
December 218.
And you
I wrote
remember
my
the
first.
date also.
Yes, I remember because I was returning from attending a seminar from this IIM Shillong. That was a
Okay.
seminar, legal seminar, and
Okay.
when I was at Guwahati airport.
Okay.
Once again, the poem dawned on on my brain and head, and it stormed me. I wrote that poem at the Guwahati airport first
Okay.
time. So that was only God's providence and nothing else.
Sir, may I say, like, there was a poet hidden beneath you, and it took some time for you to wake him up.
Yes, exactly. I also feel, I strongly feel that poet was always alive inside me, and it raised his head from time to time. Once it raised, it was crushed by the exigencies of administrative service. But once again, when I was relieved I from this job, I was for full after completing my tenure. So it once again raised his head, and I am so lucky, and I feel very glad, and I
Cool.
feel proud rather that I'm writing poetry.
Welcome to my tribe, the poetic clan, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
So, on this good note, so we'll go ahead with your book on the wings of clouds. So, what does it poetically signify in your own words? What does the title on the wings of clouds signify?
Actually, when I gave this title to my book, there was nothing in my head. It was a title of one of my poems, but
Okay.
otherwise, I think uh, ideas come from above.
Yeah.
You may say that ideas are hidden in the clouds, and clouds have wings. So you have to catch those ideas. The moment you find an idea in the atmosphere, you have to catch it and pen it down. Otherwise, the idea will flow like the clouds. So I I became successful in catching some of the ideas floating around me and over and above.
May I put a word like it's some sort of a cosmic energy?
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. The only thing which which is my strength, is that cosmic energy and
Cool.
nothing else.
That's great. That's a matter of coincidence here. Like you connect with my vibe, sort of thing.
Yes, 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 exactly.
So, sir, like being an administrative officer, how much of social cultural views do you portray in your poetry?
Actually, uh, being in administrative service means you are connected with nearly all the problems surfacing at the national level, at the state level, at the district level, and the taluka level, everything. But
Yeah,
sometimes uh, we were dealing with some international problems also,
yeah,
like the problems of refugees, people coming from other countries and residing there. So their problems were there. So somewhat connections we developed during our tenure. So that you see the
so
awareness
how
about
do you poetize those events into your poetry? That's what I mean to say.
that comes naturally. Sir. That comes
Ah,
naturally when you write poetry. Though
okay,
those issues, those dealings with events, the people around, somewhere they automatically get connected with my
connected.
poetry,
Yeah,
without asking for or without seeking for their.
permission sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, sir. Like, so your poems are mostly subjective or objective of your thought process, or how do you elaborate this?
Subjective form. I
You
can't
go
write
subjective.
objective words. Yes.
Yeah. So
Mm.
this is what I could understand while reading your poems. So that is the
Yes.
reason I came up with this question.
Yes. Yes. Mm.
Okay. So at times, like, do you have a thought process in your mind, like, or else out of the blue moon, like there's a spark in your uh, uh, feelings or emotions sort of thing, like when you just want to pour it down.
Yes.
Even that happens.
Exactly. That was once again I said that is the divine blessing which I uh, get amply into my, you see, thought process, and my thought process is now so much widened that anything everywhere and comes to my mind instantly. I catch it, and sometimes I feel that I am gifted with rare sensitivity, which was not a necessary ingredient in the administrative service, but now it is becoming very much helpful in, you see, in connecting with myself, with the people around, with the places around, with the happenings around so easily. Because
Yeah,
rare sensitivity is what that makes a poet. Sensitivity is the most important thing for
yeah.
a
Means
poet.
the most ingredient. Yeah,
Both,
it's a great. Yeah,
yes.
I do agree, sir. I do agree.
So I catch very easily. I catch people's sorrows. I can see the, you see, tears in the eyes of people so
Yeah.
easily. I recognize places. I find the importance of places and anything. It touches my heart instantly.
Hmm.
Instant connection is make out. That
Yeah.
is.
So a poet he is sensitive to his surroundings, and at the same time, he needs to bring out his sensibilities, his intellect, and his wit and wisdom into his poetry.
Yes.
This is where his intelligence lies. This is what I feel.
Yes, exactly. But the to arouse sensibility in others, that should not be the motto of a poet. That should not
Poet.
be
Yeah.
objective any poet. It
Yeah.
comes naturally. By
Hmm.
reading my poem, if you are inspired, my job is done.
Done.
But I would not prefer to preach or teach anything to other people
Yeah.
because I think they are more intelligent and, you see,
Yeah.
sensitive than me. My role is that to to arouse that feeling through
Feeling.
my
Yeah.
words in my poem.
So that serves the purpose of writing.
Yes. Yes.
Cool, sir.
Purpose of writing is, first of all, I love writing poetry. Poetry comes naturally to me. I can't write short stories. I fail to write any short story because that is, I think that is not my genre, you say. But poetry comes naturally to me. First thing. Second thing is that sometimes I feel to sustain myself,
Yeah.
I have to write poetry
Poetry.
because I
You
find
can't
that,
resist yourself. You know.
yes, I can't
Yeah.
resist myself.
Yeah.
Yes,
The absurd flow of words is poetry for me also.
exactly. That should be.
Yeah. Sir, in this
You,
poem, Catharsis, it reflects on the current atmospheric structure.
yes.
So will you please elaborate a bit?
Actually, Casas's poem is regarding the environmental degradation, the
Okay.
causes of environmental degradation and its present situation.
Hmm.
And the worst thing is that nobody is caring for that
Yeah, true.
environmental degradation. Like you see, Delhi is a good example of that.
Very good example of that.
Yes, Delhi people are just asphyxiated by the you see smog around, and after years, and there is
Yes,
nothing which can be solid is being done by any government. So total lack of empathy, local sensitivity, and goodwill. Entire you see lack of goodwill.
yes, sir.
By so actually this is my and I'm a
Your
nature of
observation.
lover, and
Yeah,
I so much value the environment around. So it pains me when
yeah,
whenever and wherever I see the environmental degradation, and that too is being done by the human beings themselves, who are the worst victims of that phenomena.
true.
So it touches me.
Yeah,
So
great, sir.
catharsis is regarding that poem.
Yes, sir. So there's a poem, Rain for Longings. It had a lovable feel. So please let us know what's your take on love.
Actually, this is very interesting to note. You can't stop your laughter
Love
because
feelings, yeah.
first time I have to write a love poem
Okay,
in 2 or 3 years back in a prompt thing. So
okay.
it took so many days to write my first poem on love. I was totally at
And
my
that too
wits
on a
end.
prompt.
Yes, yet to prompt. I was totally at my wits end how to write a love poem because I not written a love poem.
Okay.
So it is
Then,
in even today I feel it's most difficult to express the feelings of love on paper.
wow.
How much you try because love is something you see
That should come
above
naturally.
naturally, and
It should
you
happen
can
on its own.
yes, you can never express it because it's a matter of feeling only.
Really.
So words are insufficient to
Express
write
love.
poems. Yes. So, but this one advantage of this Facebook poetry is the prompts given by different groups, and the
Mhm.
prompt make you write on that subject which you normally would not like to write, or you would not feel comfortable with.
Mhm.
So that
So
was a try.
most of the academic poets or else the scholar sort of poets like who have done their literary backdrop and all, like they don't try to touch love poems or else any feelings or emotional subjects. They just want to go on either nature or else like any thematic subjective points.
Yes,
So this
yes,
is how it happens.
yes.
But for me naturally it's not that I'm a romantic person or else like I'll be wanting for searching for love here and there to write love poems sort of thing. But there's an instinctive like to tap the vibe of love. Okay, so that is the reason like some poets they try to write on love. And while let me say this, like my ideology towards my poetry is like poetry by itself. I write poetry based on the most of the poetic mindset, moods, and the nuances. So that's my take, my ideology about poetry. So, do you have any specific ideology about your poetry, sir?
Actually, one thing about love, I always say to all the people, love is not about love of your beloved.
Yeah,
You love your mother, you love your country, you love your friend, even you love your dog.
yeah,
So love is a very wide word, and you
yeah,
have got any feeling of love towards anybody. That
yeah.
feeling will come out in any form
Oh,
of writing. So when you write love poems, that feeling of attachment, the feeling of romanticism, it
of
naturally
belonging.
comes. Yes.
Yeah.
So when I wrote that poem, so that love content
Mhm.
that, automatically you see sprang into my poems. So that way it made me easier to write about love poems. Otherwise, I would not have survived this kind of onslaught of writing poems in for love. Mm.
Okay, sir. So, going ahead, like, who are your favorite poets in the classical literature and why?
In English literature, especially in poetic field, uh,
Okay.
my, my my first preference and choice would be Mr. Jan Mahapatra, whom I'm reading from my university days in that illustrated weekly magazine. And post retirement, I bought his book, collected
Entire
poems.
collection.
Yes, he is a tremendous poet. He's a very good poet, and every meaning, well, every line has got deep meanings and some
Okay.
philosophical touch.
Hmm.
So he is my first preference. And among the other Indian poets, I have just read, starting to read rather, Mr. Arun Kolatkar. He's a Marathi poet, Marathi English poet. He's a tremendous poet. He's
Okay.
Commonwealth Literary Prize winner. His poem, one long poem, Jejuri, I was reading,
Hmm.
it was a village in Maharashtra. So,
Okay.
such a, I was really surprised that any Indian poet can write such a beautiful poetry,
Oh,
for which we cast our glance at Auden,
hmm.
Eliot, or other people. So there are so many good poets.
Yeah, there are many hidden talents in a nook and corner of India, sir. Honestly, we
Yes,
need to. There are many invisible, invincible poets. Or
yes, invisible. But
yeah.
these are masters, even though you go through the master, 8 or 10 masters, naturally nearly all belong to then Bombay, now Mumbai. So they were Dr. G. Patel, Adil Jasawala, these are masters of English poetry, and Nissim Ezekiel, who are the
Yeah.
father figure of English poetry. So out of these poets, every poet has got something to share with you
Hmm.
in detail. But I have really not read all the poets. But now I have purchased the collections of all the poets, and I'm going to read. But till now, I found Jaz Mahapatra is a wonderful poet, and Dom Morris I also like. Dom Morris. Uh,
Sir, coming to Jayant Patra, sir, like he has wide range of what do you call his views, perspectives,
yeah,
interpretations. You know, like he has brought in the social fabric of the nation with the different use of threads. Okay, when we read his poetry, it's like you're trying to tap into each and every cultural nodes or the economical nodes of Indian cultural fabric or the economical fabric of this nation. So, what do you want to say about him, sir? Again,
actually, that also you see surprises me. He was a man of physics. He used
Yeah,
to
true.
uh, used to
He's a
teach
professor
physics
of
at
physics.
Ravenshaw College in Cuttack. So he for a full time he was a man of physics, but I think he was a very well read man, and he was very connected with the people around. And
Yeah,
living
it's
in a
based on
small
his
state like
yeah,
Odisha,
yeah,
you
yes,
see,
sir.
just Odisha is almost backward state, not in that sense. You see,
Yeah,
forward state, but
agreed,
he
agreed.
he got he developed rather that insight into the world affairs, into the affairs of nation, that could only be done with the help of excessive reading, plus meeting with the people around and feeling their problems. That
Sir,
gave him the insight. Yes.
yeah, sir. At the end of his career, I just came to know, he just wanted to burn all his poetry after his death. So, how could you interpret this?
Actually, any creative person, this is the you see,
But is it true, sir? But is it true? Even I'm not sure about it.
yes. No, I want to say that every creative person evolves every day. If he's serious about it, he evolves every day, and he
Every
can never be satisfied with his writings.
yeah.
What he has written might be awarded even with a Nobel Prize, but in heart of his heart, he will never be satisfied because he's evolving every day. So, sometime at a point of time, it seems to him that what I have written is not worth. That is why that feeling comes to every you see great creative person. So it might be that feeling that he wanted to burn it books or writings and start afresh writing some other things or whatever must have been in his mind,
Hmm.
because that feeling was not in poets also in men of great men of different fields like Dr. Ambedkar. He,
Okay.
after completing the constitution, when constitution was adopted by the country, he was so pessimistic about it that he expressed his feeling that if he is given chance, he would burn this constitution. because there was something
The Constitution of India, the book.
yes,
Oh,
because
okay,
he was not totally satisfied from
okay,
inside. Uh,
okay.
every man has got his own views, but
His own
you
perspectives
adopt
and views. Yeah,
something. You adopt something. There was a constituent assembly who has got so many people around. Their discussion, their deliberations will paved the way for the constitution. That was not had Dr. Ambedkar been given a single chance to make a constitution, probably he would have made it in different way.
way.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so it comes to a, but it comes to only great person, great who have great mind, great heart. Only that person can feel this.
yeah.
You see, the, would say desperation or this discontentment with what he has done in his life. So this happens in so many cases.
It's a
But
rare phenomenon sort of thing.
this is sort of evolution,
Okay,
evolution of man as a
okay.
poet, as a another thing.
Sir, in this poem, like "How Do I Love Thee," it has a coincidence with Elizabeth Barrett Browning poem on the same title. Have you been inspired or influenced by her writings by at any given point of time?
Frankly speaking, I have never read this poet.
Oh,
I've never
okay,
I never came along any poem of this writer.
okay.
Uh, but this was, you see, when
It's a pure coincidence, you would say.
this pure coincidence. This is again when you write a prompt, then you have to add a title to it. So whatever
Yeah,
comes to your mind,
right.
you
Yeah,
add to it.
yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't suit the poem, but otherwise because you have to take it, send it within time. So whatever comes to mind, I just write it. But there is no. It may be coincidence, but there is no. You see, I have never read it. Never read any of her poems.
But I love the beautiful lines. Like I would like to recite here, my sweetheart will come, I'm sure, and together we'll fly on the wings of ecstasy towards the rim of love-filled paradise. Awesome lines. That final touch, what you have given in this poem, it's a top notch. I would say.
Actually, frankly speaking, I am once again repeating it. Only the divine hands have made me write these poems. This is beyond my
Understand?
competence to write such lines because once again I say writing a love poem is still a, you see, a
Challenge for
riddle for me because but I have written I think some poems on love, on theme of love just
yeah.
because of poems. But
I
how
love I enjoyed reading those. I enjoyed reading those. The
thank you
mirth
so
of love, and there's another poem like the mirth of love,
much.
and there's a lovebirds in summer, a rustic beauty. They have fair way of saying expressing love. Like either it might be nature or else through natural instinct, whatever it is. Like it has beautiful it has beauty in it. So it has a beautiful beautified truth in it. This is what I can
Yes,
say.
yes, sir.
Sir, coming to this poem, everybody is a beggar, while undying hope is your valuable treasure. This is what you have said in this poem. Everybody is a beggar. How do you describe it?
Actually, this is a bit philosophical touch in it
Yeah,
because I find people from every walk of life.
yeah,
They are
humanist.
going to temples and they are begging before God
Yeah,
for different reasons. Even a
different.
millennial goes
True,
to the
true.
temple and he begs from God of
Yeah,
certain different thing, and an ordinary person goes, he begs for something else.
something.
So
Yeah,
everybody
obviously.
is a beggar. So there is no, you see,
So
everybody is on
anybody
same
who goes to the temple is a beggar sort of a person.
beggar sort of person. He is beggar also, not a sort of person. He is
Yeah,
beggar because
yeah.
no,
On an intellectual note, he's a beggar.
he's a beggar. Yes,
Yeah,
he's a
as
beggar.
simple as that.
Yes. So
Clearly defined and described.
yes, yes. Three other in three forms I have written it. So it clicked to my mind why these men coming from a big cars, they are also coming to temples. Huh? What is their need? They
Is
have got
yeah,
they have got most of the things in life, but
right.
still they
Yeah.
are going to temples. So they are the bigger beggars, and I felt proud because they are bigger beggar than me because I am asking asking for a little favor. They are asking for a big favor, so they are bigger favor. You see beggars than me.
Bigger beggars.
Bigger, bigger.
Bigger beggars.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's a nice way of putting it across, like bigger beggars.
Bigger beggars.
Bigger beggars. Well, sir. Sir, like poetry as a color has changed its shades and hues at every stage of revolution. I can say this. So, what do you want to say about this transition from classicist to modernist? And in between, there are many forms and styles, and there's many genres coming in. So, where do you see the next generation going from there?
Actually, like literature, poetry is also evolving every day, and there are phases in the form of poetry in India also, and in the West also. Like in India, we if you go through the 50s, the poetry was simple quartet, 4 lines poem, and things were put in a very simple way. And just go before that, in pre-independence day, poets like Michael Madhusudan Dutt, Toru Dutt, or Sarojini Naidu, or some poets, they wrote also almost in the same style, but their texture was different.
Yeah.
They were very simple poems. They wrote like Sarojini Naidu's poem in Hyderabad Bazaar, like that
Yeah.
poem. So it was a bazaar scene described in a
Mm.
very simple manner.
Yeah.
But after 50s, you see the tenor of English poems were very much changed, and this group of poets, which I say masters, they introduced some depth into poetry. They introduced some philosophical input into poetry,
Yeah.
and they were influenced by the poets of the West, like T.S. Eliot is the most
Yeah.
favorite poet, and Eliot, Auden, and some other poets.
SW Longfellow.
Yes, Longfellow. So these those poets like Eliot alone himself changed the tenor of English poetry. So
Yeah.
he was very much, you see, copied by the, or rather, you say, inspired by the,
Limited.
he inspired many English poets. So poetry became somewhat subtle poetry.
Mm.
You have to put your mind and you see, and you have to think over it. Only then you could catch
Yes.
the real meaning of poetry. So something, you see, uh, but it changed from being easy to somewhat difficult to understand poetry.
Yeah.
And next is that you see that strain is still continuing, but next came the forms of poetry.
Yeah.
That from
That's coming
four
there.
4 line quartet to pre you see
River.
pre then again the haiku thing, and the 2 lines poem and the 6 lines poems and 8 lines poems. All these forms, these experiments are still continuing in English poetry. And you see, the difficulty is that for a poet, how can you put your thoughts in 2 lines or 3 lines or 6 lines?
How do you condense
Because
the thought?
because it is not easy to condense your thoughts in 2 lines, 3 lines. But
Yeah.
these are the new forms of poetry. The experiment is going on.
Yeah.
Maybe once again we'll come back to the 4 line poems, quartets, which are most easy to read and enjoyable. The
Yeah.
4 line
Yeah.
forms, the quartet forms.
Yeah.
So experiments are one time, you
Still
see,
happen. It
when we were
depends
in the
upon the poet again.
sir,
It depends upon the poet again, sir.
do
Like,
it again.
yeah,
Once
what
we
he
were,
wants to explore through a theme,
huh,
is it not?
we were in the university, a new genre had appeared in the poetry, beat poetry.
Mm.
Some
Yeah.
it was based on the Beatles band of, you see,
Mm.
England. So beat poetry, it was also there. Then came a poetry. A poetry means you draw
A
a
structured poet.
picture and you put words into it, like
That's it.
you form an apple by using only letters. So that was a poetry, that was called a poetry. But
Yeah.
these experiments, you see, have a very short-lived
Tenure.
in duration. So, but experiment should be there. Experiment must be done there, because it strengthens the language, it strengthens
Yeah.
the literature,
Yeah.
and something is gained from these experiments.
So it's
So
better you go with a structure, with a pattern sort of a poem. Only then, the moment you set your eyes on the structure of a poem, you will can easily understand you can understand the pattern, the rhythm or the rhyme, and the entire thing, the in totality, you will be able to see in front of your eyes. So that's where the picture of a poetry should be.
Yes, exactly,
Huh?
exactly. So, that way, this structure is very important for poetry
Poetry
also from the reader's point of view.
point of view. Yeah.
Because readers connect with, because readers are not advanced in what is you see happening in the or what is being experimented in the poetry arena. He has read poetry, what he has read in his school textbooks, college textbooks, the university textbooks, and there he has read about quartets, 4 lines, or 14-line
Especially.
sonnets. Yes, established forms. So
Yes.
it becomes difficult for him to pick up the free words or the blank words.
Yeah.
So from reader's angle, it is better if it has got a structure.
Sir, in this poem like Peace in Exile and International Day of Nonviolence, you speak about international affairs in an harmonious way. Please let us know, being an administrative officer, uh, how diplomatically you wish to see the worldly affairs.
Uh, the reality is that, which I have learned after so many years, that there can never be a world which is which you say is strife free or the free of any kind of warfare. It will always happen.
Oh, yeah.
You can't control it. Nobody can
Control,
control
yeah.
it.
Control it. Yeah.
But the real thing is that uh, how to stop the fight.
Mhm.
There lies our strength. So unfortunately, the almost all the wars during last decades or
Yeah.
before that, mm,
And the ones
these
which are happening now
yes,
also.
yeah, these are triggered by the big powers,
Yeah.
the big
True.
and developed and strong powers.
Yeah.
They are triggering by either by themselves or by their stooges, countries or the allied countries. So who, if you say like in your family, if your head of the family is involved in any feud, who is going to control the feud? Who is going to make them
Basically, yeah.
understand? Yes. So when big powers are themselves involved, so how can they control it
Yeah.
in the warfare, or how can they stop the warfare until unless they want it to stop?
Yeah.
So that is why all the wars, all the fights are of, you see, uh, indefinite durations. Nobody knows when their interest will end. Like in Afghanistan, they withdrew, the war was over.
Mhm. True.
Like in Middle East, when the US would took his steps back, the Gulf War was over. Now
Mhm.
again in Israel and Hamas, when you see US has
Intervene.
intervened, then there is a ceasefire. Maybe a war will also close. So everything depends beginning of the war and ending of the war. It
End of.
totally depends on the big power, the strong powers, and there nobody can control it. Even the United Nations, like a body, is helpless against their, you see, wishes. So need of the hour is to, you see, restructure the United Nations, restructure the Security Council, to put some pressure at least on these big powers. That is the, but how can it be done? It is a $1 million question. At least I have no clue, because it is very extremely difficult thing.
It's very much insightful to know these things from you, sir, because being a scholar and being widely read, like these are the facets of the culture, on the international affairs that the any poet can explore. No, not
Yes,
not everybody will be tapping into those cultural or else the international affairs sort of thing.
yes.
So I really highly appreciate you on this note, sir.
Thank
So
you.
coming back, because and here I would like to come with your love poem again. The reason is like love is one thing like which can end anything. Like either it's a war, a crime, or anything. Like the harmonious feel is love.
Mm,
Either it's a neighborhood or it's a brotherhood.
mm.
So here in your poem, the aroma of your love.
Yes.
So may I request you to read out these lines for us, sir.
Yes. Okay, sir.
The aroma of your love.
Yes. This is a very short poem.
Yeah, yeah. So
The
that is the reason I chosen.
Yes, yes. The sweet aroma of your selfless love permeates every pore of my body and sends a signal to the dull surroundings that the springtime has come to stay forever. Your coy smile and beaming countenance have enlivened the atmosphere like nothing before. The winds are humming in sonorous tunes, making a declaration that you are my eternal love.
Awesome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Make a declaration that you are my eternal love.
Yes.
That that's what a poetic touch is all about.
Yes.
To give a final touch, it's like ending things there and there itself.
Exactly.
There's nothing beyond that to say.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
giving finishing line, finishing touch.
Yes, yes, yes,
That ends there. That summarizes there.
yes,
So
yes.
that's where the poetic touch is all about. So
Okay.
that is what made me to recite that poem, sir.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Cool, sir. Here, in this poem, the Ocean Song, I would like to recite this poem for you, sir. Like I read, I really loved, thoroughly enjoyed reading these lines. Here it goes as you written. The whole atmosphere is calm, and the music of the waves in motion is simply enchanting. There is no human being present to enjoy the symphony except the humble marine creatures, wading leisurely in the bosom of sprawling water regime. You have beautiful lyrical flow as waves of the tides. I love these lines
Thank you. Thank you so much.
because, as you said, like love is not pure genre, but given a chance, fair chance, like if you want to explore, there are certain instincts like the past feelings or else the emotions that you have gone through that comes quite naturally whenever we tap into that vibe. It
Yes.
comes quite naturally.
Definitely.
Yeah. So even I feel that like a poetry is like is the fragrance of a flower. It should emancipate by its own. So that is one.
It is very true.
How do you define or describe poetry in your words, if at all given a chance?
Poetry for
How do you define or describe poetry in your own words?
the very simple thing is that poetry, you have rightly used the word emancipation, um, man's emancipation from his, you see, internal bonds, bonds of thoughts, bonds of ideas. It breaks free. Poetry is a medium to break yourself free from your, you see, preconceived notions, from
Hmm.
your uh, thought
Inbuilt
process.
inhibitions.
Uh, and live, you see, and entertain new visions, new perceptions, new dreams. You land into entirely new dreamland.
So
So
if at
it
all
gives,
I have to say that, like so as to liberalize yourself, so
yes,
as to liberalize yourself, you just go with the flow. Like you just break your mind, open your heart, and say what you want to say that.
to me, after writing poetry, I feel I have the same feeling that I have been freed from my, you see, preconceived notions, my
Emotion.
thought process,
True.
which has become worn out. And in everybody case, some old ideas, they need to be replaced. And poetry is a very good medium.
Medium.
If you have some, you see, talent to write it, you break yourself free. And without, you see, getting directions from anybody, you get directions from your heart only. And you, from, actually, my conception of poetry is that it should be written from the heart,
Heart.
and it should be written for the heart of the people who
And
read
it has to be felt in the mind.
felt with the mind. Yes. This is the only litmus test for any poet.
Yeah.
So yeah. So if my poems appeal to you, then I am successful in writing.
Yeah.
I am successful in conveying my, you see, freedom to you.
Yes, sir.
You, by reading it, you will feel free for seconds also, like me.
Yes, sir. That's awesome, sir. That's awesome. Sir, well, coming to the fag end of this session, I would like to touch on this one poem of yours, on the bed of my broken dreams. To break free from the shackles of life, loose strings and ropes to touch the new horizons. Till then, let me revel in the realm of rainbow dreams. it has a deep philosophical side of yours. This, this I didn't expect, or else I didn't come across anywhere anywhere in any one of your poem. This had a very beautiful philosophical touch and an intellectual note to yourself.
Thank you.
So it's an awesome line, sir.
Thank you.
So do you want to say anything on this poem, sir?
Actually, this poem is based on a once again a picture
Okay.
where you see in North India the the bamboo cords were, you see, bamboo or wooden cords were used, and that were woven by the cross section of, you see, uh, a thing which is grows naturally alongside the river. So that you see the threads are make out of that grass,
Hmm.
long grass,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that is known as in India, North India, it is called khatiya, like
Ah,
khart khatiya.
we have seen, sir.
So
In the villages side, we have seen. Yeah.
yes, yes, sir. But that an old man, which must be about 80 or some, and he was living in a broken khatiya, broken cot. So and he was sleeping sound,
Having
without
a sound
any
sleep.
sound sleep. So that triggered me some emotions, because only that man can be, you can sleep sound,
Oh,
have a
yeah.
sound sleep. Then he can be the, you see, most uh, he can have the most enjoyable time, who has nothing to lose, who has
Close.
nothing
Yeah.
to pretend.
True.
He's the
True.
he's a true winner. Like
Yeah.
in Harman Siddharth novel, the man who was riding the boat, he has nothing, nothing to wear, only the, you see, loincloth. And he
Yeah.
was the most happy. When Siddharth reached him and asked what the secret of life, he said, I have nothing to lose. And I have no, you see, compunction. I have no regrets with the life. I enjoy the life, whatever is given to me.
As it
So
is.
that was his condition also. That
Yeah.
triggered me, that feeling that
Yeah.
he's the wealthiest man on earth. He
But
is the most, you see, happiest man on earth, who is living on a, who is lying on a broken cart, and he's sleeping. He is having a sound sleep.
sir, here in this poem, mirror doesn't lie. I'm the mirror. I speak the truth and never deviate despite several screenings. So it's like it's unfiltered words from your side. So poetically you have explored yourself, exploded yourself,
Yes,
explored and exploded yourself.
yes, yes.
So how do you summarize the whole?
Actually, behind this poem, there was my anger against narcissism,
Hmm.
because in my service also, I have seen so much senior officers and junior officers who always, you see, enjoyed looking at their mirrors, feeling that I am great, I am all, I know all. That feeling of narcissism, I had to face throughout my service. So that is a little anger against me, because that is why I wrote, if you look at the mirror, then don't be a narcissist. Rather, see the mirror shows you,
Yeah.
because we rather ignore the real feeling, the real signals what mirror is showing to us. We are always having a peripheral look of ourselves through a mirror, and we only want to see what we want to see from a mirror, which
Yes,
never
sir.
lies.
True. That's an honest answer, I believe so, sir. So coming to the fag end of this interview session, do you feel like you have been explored with this interview, sir? As
Pardon?
a poet, do you feel like you have been explored through this interview?
100%. You have rather probed my mind so well, and I'm
Okay.
really glad that you have, for first time, you have successfully uh, gone deeper into my thought process, my writing process, and I'm really happy that you
That's an
have
honor, sir.
done that. Really,
So, so was it exciting for you, or else a revelation to you, or else like, do you still hold something that needs to be told in this session?
no, not exactly nothing, but I have no, you see, grudge against anybody, no complaints against anybody. But one thing is, I lack in the field of poetry writing, especially in the groups or in the poetic journals, whatever, or the literary supplements. You get no response from the readers. You get hardly any response from the reader that poetry is good, bad, or you see worse, anything. So this trend is new trend.
Sir, it's
Earlier,
not the new trend, sir. It's not the new trend. Like we should ignore posting in FBs. Honestly saying, honestly speaking, I've done that. I've followed through that, and I said to myself like, no, no, no.
yes,
Like I am to a purpose, to a medium. I am for a purpose. Poetry is my passion. Poetry is my penance, and
yes,
I'll go through it. I am through its tribe, and I will strive it. So no, I don't want to please anybody. I don't want to beg for somebody's acceptance. So I will go. I am a warrior from within, and I'll go ahead. This is what my strong feeling is. So this is my just
that
as
is very,
simple saying, sir. Just
that is very true.
being poet, being a writer of poems. I'm not saying like I'm an acclaimed poet.
Yes,
Just a writer of poems. This is what my philosophy or ideology is, sir.
you are
So
very correct. But my view is that if you get honest opinion from the readers, it it helps in you see making you a better writer, better poet. In you see during my university days and after that, even 20 years back, I used to I got only two postcards or three postcards. I sent my Hindi poems in a magazine published from Bengal or Bihar, and I got postcards from there. They wrote he was a farmer. He wrote that I just found his that my poem inspired me so much. So that was my gold medal. If postcard is so it
so it feels like you have done poetic justice to your poem.
yes, good, yes,
You
yes.
know. So
But
so coming to the end of the show, sir. Like, how much do you feel like I have done poetic justice to my show, sir?
At least, actually, this question should be answered by you because I know what was. I don't know whether I told you that.
I just want to conclude this on a happy note. So that is the reason I had to ask you this. So I'm happy for you, sir. Thanks for coming. I could
Only,
sense your vibe through your laughter that you have very much thoroughly enjoyed my show. Thanks for coming.
only
And
one thing, only one thing I can say about
yes,
this program that whatever I said, I have said with total honesty from my
honestly,
heart.
yeah,
That is my you satisfaction.
yeah. And I believe like I have revealed the poet from.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks for coming to my show. It's my honor and pleasure. Dhanyavad, sir. Signing
Thank you,
off now.
Prasanna. Thank you,
Thanks.
Prasanna, very much.
We will catch up later soon. Sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Okay.